Hi, everybody. My name is Zeb Wellborn, President and CEO of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Today, I am chatting with Ali Rauch. She is from the Opelika Chamber of Commerce. I've got to say they do fantastic things at the Opelika Chamber of Commerce. They were also recognized as Chamber of the Year by ACCE, which I got to see them recognized for. So, number one, congratulations on that front.
Thank you very much. Very honored. And it time just keeps flying. It's hard to believe that that was back in July.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And I know you're still doing lots of really great things. So today I wanted to chat about a couple of things is number one, about social media. So I know that you have an affinity for social media, as do I. So I want to chat about that with you a little bit. And then I know you started an entrepreneurship center in your community, and we're looking to do the same. So I just love to pick your brain on how that went for you and go from there. So that's what the plan is today. So let's start on the social media front. When I'm giving a presentation in the near future. I talk about social media a lot in my professional life, and I've done a few chamber presentations, and I'm really looking for more, new ideas, thoughts on ways to think about social media. But let me start with your involvement with social media in the first place. Is like, how did you start to doing the social media? Is this you doing it at your chamber? Is it something you infused and brought? I'd love to hear about how you
Sure.
started with social media and how you're using it at your chamber.
Well, I am soon to be celebrating 5 years with the chamber. And I have to tell you that when I started, our social media was really bad. It was just really, really bad. And I think it was a situation where we didn't have a team that was leading it or passionate about it or had experience in it. And for me, being a former marketer who was responsible for building a brand both online and in person for a restaurant concept, that was like my bread and butter. And so it was very important to me that we elevated our presence and we made sure that it worked. So first of all, it took bringing someone on board who understood that and found that important. I hired an intern right away. And she and I talked a lot about things that we wanted to do. And it was simple things to begin with. It started with, hey, let's stop posting graphics. People like to see themselves. People like to see photos of people. And so we really decided that we didn't really see any chambers out there doing an awesome job at it. And so we said, well, we don't want to look like chambers. We're just going to look like the way that we want our brand and something that we would want to interact with. And so we really decided to go very heavy on photography and making sure everything looked beautiful and appealing. But now the person who was my intern is now my director of marketing, media, and communications. And so she really leads the charge, but we still have an intern now who is responsible for writing all the copy, editing the photos and posting those. And then they get approved by my director of marketing. So we now have a process and a little bit of a bigger team. But for us, it was just really wanting to try and think of putting ourselves in the shoes of our members and the people who are following us to say, what is it that they want to interact with? And just because we're a chamber and we're hosting events and things like that doesn't mean you have to limit yourself in your creativity or, oh, this is how businesses do it, so we're going to do it. Like, no, we're going to try and build our own brand as a chamber within our community. And it's really allowed us to increase our social media reach pretty heavily. I mean, I think it's more than doubled since in the last 5 years.
That's awesome. And so when you say doing it bad, you would say doing it bad was posting a lot of graphic flyer type content, and doing it good was doing a lot more visuals, photography type stuff at your chamber.
At the bare basics, yes, that was the biggest kind of jump from one to the other. Mm-hmm.
Good. And then let's talk about, it's like, so what are some of the things that you feel like you do well? I feel like in social media, there's a lot of people that do different things well. Is there anything in particular that you feel like you do really well at the Opelika Chamber?
I would say that, I think we've decided to stick to what we do well. So we don't have channels on everything. We have Facebook. Facebook continues to be our biggest resource for social media interaction. And so we try to, use that to our advantage. We know our audience by saying, okay, my team is in their 20s. They might not use Facebook personally as much as others, but we at least recognize that our followers and the bulk of our followers are on Facebook. So we lead with that. But so we are only on Facebook and Instagram. We do have YouTube and LinkedIn, but like we're not trying to be everywhere to everybody. We are truly we're truly just posting. We really post a lot of kind of recaps. We're not using social media to sell tickets a lot or to drive attendance to some of our events because that's a little bit harder. I mean, when you host 250 events a year, how are you going to post all of the things to promote that event and then also recap the event to deliver on sponsorships? So we really have leaned into paid advertising to promote the events in advance to sell tickets if it's a situation where we're trying to do that. So we'll do paid ads for that. And then everything else is really a recap post that is maybe a carousel or, a photo album of different things. And we are always we're very, very, very good about delivering on our sponsorship benefits by, if we say, hey, there's going to be a recap photo or a recap post on social media and your business is going to be tagged in that, we always make sure and do that as well. They always have photos of who was there. We do a great job capturing, what was the vibe and what was the energy that you felt at that event. And making sure that really, you feel that in the post, you feel that in the social media element, because people will feel like they're there, and it then, makes them want to be a part of it too.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about the paid ad stuff. Is it paid ads on social?
It is. We do paid ads on social across Instagram and Facebook. Mm-hmm.
And then when you do those, do you have a special, anything you feel like that makes those special? Because, yeah, I'm just curious how you do those.
Typically, our best performing ads are going to be videos of some sort, short form video that, right now we've got one going that has some different video of trip to Ireland, because we're selling trips to Ireland for April. And so, but then our All Things Marketing Summit is happening at the end of the month. And that's the one that we have live right now. That is just a short, there's no sound or anything. It's just going over B-roll footage of last year's event with kind of a graphic overlay that has the event logo and the details, so that again, it's engaging as they're scrolling, and so we're also pretty typically we'll do a radius, so we'll do a 30-mile radius of Opelika to feed that ad to, and so it tends to work really well for us. We're very close to our attendance goal for our All Things Marketing Summit at the end of the month, and we've still got a couple weeks to go.
Okay, cool. Is there any if you had to give advice to people in the chamber industry about doing social media, what is either your biggest piece of advice or biggest top 3 piece of advice? What would you share with chamber CEOs or people that are responsible for the social media at their chamber? What would you advise them to do?
I would advise them to think long and hard about what you want to present yourself as, how you want to portray yourself on social media, so that you truly understand your brand and what you want that to look like, so that you can be committed to that. And then put yourself in the shoes of your target audience and think, what would I like to see on social media? And just try to recreate that, but within your scope of what you offer.
Okay, good. And then if we can move on to the entrepreneurial stuff. So tell me about your experience in terms of building that Entrepreneurship Center where you are.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard for us right now because we just moved into our building. I'm sitting at my new desk, which is so exciting. But we just moved in a couple weeks ago, and so it is not quite. We're not there all the way there yet. What we know is that we have a really great partnership with Auburn University here. They're our sister city, and they have an accelerator program there at the university to help businesses kind of get off the ground. And so we're one of their extensions. We're a partnership where we are hosting a small business summit in a couple weeks. And that's really all about teaching entrepreneurs what they need to know to kind of get started and scale their business. And so we're not recreating all of this. We're not doing all of this just ourselves. We're finding the right partners to offer programming and to offer education resources within our facility to equip entrepreneurs. And we've leaned in a lot to helping food trucks get started in the area, simply because we started an event a few years ago called Food Truck Friday. that's been wildly successful. And so we have just naturally kind of helped a lot of them get started, or at least helped them know the process to get started. And so now we're really hoping to expand that into other areas. I'd love to explore the possibility of doing an incubator within our building that maybe picks a handful of businesses that would go through a 10-week training program about how to start or scale your business, and then really make it hyper focused on trades like plumbers and HVAC companies, people who really are typically one-man shows, but are interested in and would want to scale their business so that then they, instead of just them doing the work, they've got a team. And that's really where we would like to go, but it's just still early days for us. We do have some programming built out in terms of courses to offer, and we typically offer those at a pretty low price point because a lot of times entrepreneurs are not, they don't have all their ducks in a row. They don't have this surplus of funding to be able to do that. But you do have to charge a little bit just so there's skin in the game for them to attend the events and the classes. But we really try and keep it super, super low entry, and even partner with Auburn University they've got different grants and things that we'll do a 2-hour entrepreneurship workshop in a couple weeks as well that will help people get started, and it won't cost them any money because Auburn University has a grant that will help pay for that. So we were just trying to get creative with partnerships.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let me talk about like the beginning stage of this, because from what I gathered, is it sounds like you guys raised a fair amount of funds for this.
Mm-hmm.
You went about setting it up. I would love to know like how that process unfolded for you. Like, how did the Entrepreneurship Center idea come to be, and then how did you be one of the ones that was leading the charge, and then how did you go about seeking funding for it?
So for us, it's kind of a maybe a little bit of a backwards thing. You know, we knew we needed to move into a new facility, and because we were in a house that was built in 1895 and it was not great. It was a challenge for us, but we were also growing, so we knew we needed to do more. And so when I brought on a consultant there, we worked with Power 10 Capital Campaigns to really come on and start with a feasibility study. And that was what made us sit down and think strategically and say, what are the areas that are missing in this community? And what we found was that entrepreneurs really did not have the resource. They didn't know what they didn't know. They did not have the resources to really grow. And then we also found that workforce development is a huge challenge. So those were kind of our two programmatic things that we said, we're going to do these things. And then the third goal for us was to create this facility that we are now moved into. And so we did raise, over the course of a couple years, we raised $3.1 million to accomplish all of that work. Now, I'm sad to share that the vast majority of that has had to be poured into the construction of the building because construction costs and interest rates skyrocketed since we started the project. So it's eaten into it a lot more than what we had hoped, but we're still committed to executing on this because I think it's really important. I think for me, it really made sense for me because before the chamber world, I worked at a franchisor. And what that means is we were like the parent brand, and then we would open up restaurants all over the country, but they were the franchisees. So we would have, couples or families or single moms that would say, I'm going to open up this restaurant, but I'm going to buy into this franchise system to learn how to open up that business. And so my time with Chicken Salad Chick in the franchising world, I learned that the reason franchises are typically so successful, like you might not realize, but like McDonald's, those are all franchised businesses. They're not just corporately owned, like Chick-fil-A, corporately owned. I think In-N-Out, corporately owned. But, your Club Pilates, your Another Broken Egg, your McDonald's, these are all franchise businesses, which means they are privately owned by, a single person or a group of people, but they're bought into a bigger system. And that bigger system is the franchisor. They teach you literally everything you need to know to run a business. Now, they're very specific. They teach you how to run that business, but they don't teach you how to run, just business in general. And so for me, I realized, why can't we at the chamber be the people who help teach general businesses how to run a business? Because if you're an entrepreneur, chances are you are not interested in going to college, and or you're just not in that grind of going to in the education world. You might be a little bit, but for the most part, like, you're a hustler and you're ready to do work. And so and you just think like, I'm going to figure it out along the way. And most of them they do, but there's a lot of hard knocks along that way. And so how could we maybe help them um, learn from others about what not to do or what to do in advance by teaching them the basics? How do you teach them HR? How do you teach them how to read a P&L and the financing and pricing of your products? Um, how to get an LLC and really decide what kind of business you want to be set up as. So all of those things that on the franchise level, they just teach you. They just say, do this, do this, do this. How can we teach them at a more generic base how to start a business?
Yeah, okay. So let me ask you, like, you're raising funds for this project.
Mhm.
Where did you go? Like, who are the people that you hit up for this, and how did that how did that unfold for you?
It was a labor of love. So we're a very strong business community. We have a town of about 30,000 people, but we've got a lot of really long established businesses in the area. And so what we did is we worked with a capital campaign company, and then we built a program that said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tackle workforce. We're going to build an entrepreneurship training program, and we're going to have a new facility where we can do all of this work. And then we went out and we met with most of the major businesses in our community. So a lot of our industry partners were really, really interested in workforce development because people's their biggest problem. But then some of our businesses who we have a bridge company who builds bridges all over the country. And they're headquartered right here. And so they are amazing citizens, corporate citizens who they believe in the chamber. They've been a part of it for 60 years. Like, so they were someone who said, yes, we'll put our name in front of this and help lead the way. But then it was also having meetings with the local banks and the gosh, they were construction developers. I mean, anyone who has a business in the area who is invested and wants to make sure that our community was successful. We sat down with them. We pitched them the idea, said, this is what we want to do. And then we had a very specific request of them. We would typically say, hey, I want this much money from you over the next 5 years to help us accomplish this. And so we had, I think, 87 total investors who helped us raise that $3.1 million.
Awesome. Awesome. And was that you doing all the work? Was it you have support on that front?
So
And then is this solo project? Like, this is purely Chamber of Commerce?
purely Chamber of Commerce. It was just us. But we did the capital campaign firm that we worked with, Power 10. We had a full-time person on staff for about 9 months. And so she did a lot of the prep work, a lot of the meeting planning and stuff, but a massive amount of work was on me as a CEO. So I was busy trying to be a brand new CEO and running our organization while simultaneously doing all of this capital campaign. I sat in on every meeting. I was the one who made the pitch and said, this is what we want to do. And then my capital campaign manager, was the one who said, and this is how much money we want from you. So it was kind of like this tag team thing. But it was a joint thing, but it's a lot of work. And I think the biggest element that I learned about it is it all comes down to communication. Like, I'm a pretty good communicator, and I think that was the ticket that helped get people to say, yes, I'm going to give you $250,000, because they believe I was able to be very compelling and say, this is what we need for our community. And they were willing to, we just have a lot of really good people that were willing to say yes.
Yeah, and then that's fantastic. And then I know that you kind of alluded to some challenges that you faced along the way. What has been the biggest challenge for you so far?
Oh gosh. It's just a lot of work. We're as chamber professionals, I think we're naturally already like so busy, and we have a lot of different responsibilities. And so to dedicate the time and really just tackle it. I really struggled every day to turn off my other brain, my chamber operations brain. I'm going to lead our organization. I would have to turn that off to say I can only focus on fundraising for the next 2 hours, because it's just, if you don't put the dedicated time to do it, you will not accomplish it at all. Like, it's not possible. And sometimes it helped that I had that full-time person sitting in my office or right outside my office saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. And that would make me turn off my other brain and focus only on that. But it's easily the biggest challenge. But of course, the economy, it's also a huge challenge. We started asking for money, and it was after COVID, but things weren't quite where they were. But then, mid campaigns, interest rates skyrocket, and people are feeling differently about how they are within their own business. So how comfortable are they giving us money when they're just trying to, make ends meet on theirs? So that's certainly a huge challenge as well.
Yeah, no, I could get that totally.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, we had and so I'll share one little mutual interesting connection point. So we were both up for Chamber of the Year. Congratulations on winning that one. One of the interesting things for me that came out of that is one of my childhood friends. I guess you were talking at an event and you mentioned the name Zeb, and he's like, "Well, that's a unique name, you know."
Yeah.
And he was born and raised in my area, so he's now living where you are. I guess affiliated with your chamber, and that comes
Yep.
from our neck of the woods, which is across the country. So that was kind of cool to see. And his brother's my best friend, and he's in the army and has been serving there for nearly 20 years. So that was kind of a cool thing. We played a lot of golf together back in the day, and so a very
Yeah.
small world.
It was so funny. He just popped into the office to introduce me to someone. He works in workforce development, so he's involved in what we do. And it was so astonishing when we realized that you guys were childhood friends. So amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me close it out here and just say, is there anything else like actually I'll ask a couple more questions. Just you mentioned you've been in 5 years. I know it's been a whirlwind, because I know how much time and effort I've put into the work that I've done, and so I know it can't be any dissimilar from what you've been doing. What is the biggest thing that you've learned in those 5 years?
Oh gosh. It all comes down to people. I think if you build a team of really great people, there's nothing that will stop you. But if you don't have the right people, you will hit nothing but barriers.
Yep, that is great advice. And then I'm
Mhm.
gonna finish up on the social media stuff. So, social media for the win is the title of my presentation. What's one thing that's winning on social media for you?
Authenticity, I think, is what's really winning right now. Like, people do not want to see these super polished, produced videos. They want to see realness. Like, we do a campaign. One thing that we do that's really amazing on social media is a campaign called Try It Tuesday. And it is literally me going to a business who they've paid a sponsorship for me to come there. And we film a video of me trying to do what they do. The police department has put me through their entire training program. I got chased by a dog. I got body slammed during the SWAT training. Like, I mean, I went through all of it. And people love to see me make a fool of myself. And so that's what we do. But it's very authentic, and it's silly, but it's our best performing stuff because authenticity is king.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna elaborate on that. So what is that called again?
Try It Tuesday.
Try It Tuesday. And you do that every Tuesday?
No, gosh, no. We do one Tuesday a month. So we do 12 times a year. Mhm.
And then are there any other things like that that you've implemented
Sure.
that you found successful, or you have like either high levels of engagement or the things that are
Mhm.
working for you? Is there anything else that fits that category for you?
Yeah. In addition to Try It Tuesday, our T-shirt Friday is really popular. It's a sponsorship that we sell. The business will pay a fee for that sponsorship, and then they will provide us with T-shirts. And then that Friday, we do this twice a month. So on the Friday of T-shirt Friday, our entire team will wear their T-shirts. And when we're out and about doing things, we're wearing their T-shirts. We typically do it on the same day as our food truck Fridays. So we're out and about a lot. We're setting up tables. We're We go out to lunch. That's one of the best parts about it is the sponsor and the entire chamber team all go to lunch. We're wearing their t-shirts. We take photos together, and then we post a recap of our day. And it's such little work, but it's really great to help spread awareness for their business through the chamber team because we're so visual and visible in town. But then it also gives us a really meaningful opportunity to connect and learn more about their business. I might know about their business because I might have a relationship with them, but my marketing director doesn't, my intern doesn't. So it's a way for the whole team to better understand their business and their needs, which then allows us to do a better job serving them as a member.
Okay, and then you say that you secure sponsors for these. How does
Mhm.
that unfold? Like I will say like we've tried similar things like that in the future. It's not easy to get sponsors lined up to say like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that. Has that been easy for you? Is there something that you use to get sponsors to raise your hand for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, this is kind of if I had to pick like one golden ticket of, what has transformed our chamber, it's been amazing that we did a capital campaign. That's been huge. But our total resource campaign, we work with YGM TRC. We've been working with them for 13 years, but 3 years ago, we did a complete refresh. We acted as if we were first time ever done it. And we nearly doubled our total campaign sales. So now, this past year, we raised $474,000 in our total operating budget from sponsorships alone through our total resource campaign. And so when you say it's hard to sell sponsorships for that, it is not hard for us to sell sponsorships in that. That is a piece of cake because the total resource campaign is it's a system. It's a volunteer-led campaign. It lasts 8 weeks. We have about 50 to 60 volunteers who are working on behalf of the Opelika Chamber for 8 weeks. They get rewarded for that, whether it's cash or a trip, they get rewards, but they all believe in the chamber. And then they go out and reach out to their network and say, hey, I think this would be a good marketing opportunity for your business. And so I can not recommend YGMTRC highly enough. They are incredible at what they do. They have a system, they'll teach you the system, they'll work you through it. And then if you have a good volunteer base in your community, it can make a huge difference and you can really change the game. For the first 10 years of our total resource campaign, we raised roughly $185,000 each year. That was the maximum that we ever reached. And then the year that we decided we were going to do a refresh and try new, and this means like we know everything that we're going to accomplish in the 2025 calendar year. I knew that last July because you have to be planned. You have to be strategic. You have to say, we're going to host these events. We're going to do these newsletters so that everything that we do has an opportunity to sponsor. And so during those 8 weeks, we sell all of those sponsorships. So there's like a dedicated time. We're not hitting up our members every couple of weeks to say, hey, do you want to sponsor this? Do you want to sponsor this? It's only done during those 8 weeks. And so we went from on average doing about 185,000. The year we decided we were going to do a refresh and kind of let people know we were changing, pulled in a couple new people, we went up to 235,000. And then that first year that we did the complete refresh, we hit $368,000.
Okay, yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's congratulations on all that. And sounds like fun, exciting stuff.
It's the most fun 8 weeks of the year at the Opelika Chamber. Genuinely, it's so much fun.
Well, good. And then I know you mentioned having a large volunteer base. So give me an idea. What does your volunteer base look like?
We have about 20 to 25 ambassadors who are very active volunteers for us. And then our Reach ambassador or our Reach volunteers, some of those overlap, but I would say we have about 20 to 30 volunteers who we consistently can count on in the Reach campaign. And then we'll typically try and bring in about 20 to 30 new faces each year of people that have never done it before, or maybe it's they attend our events, but maybe haven't necessarily gotten engaged yet. And so we typically have about 60 people that are involved each year.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, Ali, thank you so much for chatting with me today, sharing your wisdom on social media and entrepreneurship. Is there any last words you would like to share before we end the call?
No, I mean, just feel free to follow me on social. I've got, you can find me at Ali Rauch. I did just start a leadership uh, side hustle as well for speaking engagements. You can find me at Lead Like Ali as well. But there's only one post so far, so bear with me. I'm getting started. But I love to speak. I've really just decided, I've only been here for 5 years, but it has felt like I've lived 15 in those five. And so now I'm really excited to start sharing some of that wisdom with others and hopefully start speaking a little bit more. So check
Awesome.
me out.
Yep. Congrats on all your success. Thanks again for joining me and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Eb.